And this guy doing weird training, like training them in the octagon with a knife as if he's gonna stab them to make them like awareness training. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the podcast. I'm here with Hollister, Menelik, and Tyrone. Thank you for joining us. We're gonna get right into it, but I want to give a quick shout out to IJTProductions. We had a collab with them a few weeks ago in regards to sports and stuff like that. They were really nice to host us, and their whole unit is dope, man. Shout out to them, and it was a great experience. And you can check that video out on their channel, IJT Productions on YouTube.com. And yeah, check it out. Probably link it to our description for this video today, so y'all want to check it out as well. But anyway, moving things right along. We're gonna talk really quickly about UFC 261. That was last week. Usman versus Masvidal 2. That was a hell of a fight card. It was crazy. It was a lot. The call was just dope. It was a full time, them being back full in the arena, full capacity in Jacksonville, Florida. Jake Paul was there, almost got pressed by DC. It was a lot of interesting things going on. But just to go down the lines, it was just like, yo, that Jimmy Crute fight with Anthony Smith, that was crazy. That was like the first leg injury with the drop foot, getting kicked in the back of the knee, and he was still trying to fight, but he couldn't get off in the second round, so they stopped the fight. Then we had the freak accident with, ironically, what you gonna call it, with Chris Weidman. Chris Weidman was fighting Uriah Hall, and literally the first attack, which was by Chris Weidman, which was like a low leg kick, he snapped his leg in half and broke it, similarly to what happened to him. Not him, but happened to Anderson Silva when Anderson Silva fought him. And it was just like really crazy, and it was like really weird to watch, and it's sad to see that happen that way. And I really, that was a fight that I was really excited for, but I wish him a speedy recovery. I know he's going through some stuff right now, saying he's feeling some numbness in the feet and different things like that. He's really like kind of pessimistic with the whole process, but God is good, so hopefully he'll heal up real good, and he say he want to fight again. I think it's kind of much almost over, but who am I to say that? The man's 36 years old. If he want to fight, he can wait the year and fight. He can fight. Who am I? Then we go into the Valentina fight. Valentina dismantled Jessica Andrade. I'm talking about, she made her look like an amateur. You know what I'm saying? And everybody thought Jessica Andrade was going to come in there and out wrestle her and rough her up, and she came in there and dominated her wrestling wise, and just murked her in 2 rounds. So that's crazy. So right behind Amanda Nunes, she's like another female GOAT. And honestly speaking, she was the only one to give Amanda comp when they fought the 2 times. And I think it's inevitable. I know the UFC doesn't want to do it because they want to keep the 2 champions and keep the division looking like alive, but I think that fight is inevitable, that 3rd fight between the 2 of them. Then you have Rose Namajunas versus Jian Wei Li, and Rose came out like most of us predicted that Rose is going to come out there and win, and she won in devastating fashion. She did a head kick KO in the 1st round and finished with some hammer's fist. Wei Li was tight because she thought it was an early stoppage, but then after a while, she sat down, regrouped, watched that replay, and realized that it was a wrap. Most likely UFC might try to do a rematch because it was the way she got caught, but I kind of had a feeling that Rose was going to win because of the way she fought Joanna, and Joanna gave Yoeli her best fight, and Rose dominated. Then I know styles makes fights, so you can't really just say because that person beat that person is going to happen, but it is what it is. And then we go to the main event: Jorge Masvidal versus Kamaru Usman. Usman came out there. I missed the 1st round. You know how it is when you're watching it on the internet, stuff happens. But when I got back in at the end of the 1st round, things were looking cool. Usman looked a little bit gassed, like he looked a little bit whatever, but he came on that 2nd round and he KO'd your boy Masvidal. And people were trying to say Masvidal was cheating because it was pouring the water on his head, but a lot of that water went on his back. But obviously, those of you who know into grappling, if you're wet and slippery, it's harder to get grip on you, harder to lock you up, harder to get takedowns, harder to hold on to you. So if you're wet, that is what it is. But it did add for epic effects when he knocked him out. Because when he snuffed him, like, you see the splatter of water around his face. So like one of them, how you used to draw like the old like angels with the halo that come around the head, like that. Like it look just like that. Y'all got to check it out. But shout out to both of them. But that was a great fight, and it ended the card well. So that was a quick recap. I'm gonna get you guys quick reaction on that, and then we're gonna move over to a couple of other UFC things I want to talk about, and then we'll talk about some basketball. So Menelik, then Hollister and Tyrone.
Yeah, like you touched on, like Rose, what she did was really impressive. She was using feints and just her like IQ. She was very cerebral, doing like even like almost John Jones-esque kind of mind games in that to catch that kick. So that was pretty impressive. Um, as far as I'll jump into the Usman one. That was very impressive. Like I wasn't expecting that. The timing, it was beautiful. The way he caught him, it was clean. Like he got out the way of the return shot, and I think Masvidal was saying because of that thing where he made it look like he was going to shoot, he reacted, and then
Yeah,
Usman just called him clean. So that was nice. I know nobody was expecting Usman to win that way, really. So I think that was a good look for him. As far as Weidman, yeah, like you said, that was crazy. Is like almost full circle, like after what happened with him and Anderson. So that was crazy to see. But yeah, I wish him the best. I hope he can make a full recovery on that. Um, and yeah,
So the fight, the UFC 261 was incredible. I enjoyed it a whole lot. I just feel bad for Chris Weidman because I had him winning that fight, but like I was watching something the other day and they said everything came to full circle with the whole his leg injury and then the Andy Silva's leg injury. So his surgery went successful. Hopefully he recovers quickly. Hopefully everything with all the numbness and everything turns out okay. The Valentina fight that was good. I knew she was going to win. I didn't know she was going to win like in that fashion. She definitely dominated that whole fight. The Thug Rose, I knew she was going to win, but I didn't know she was going to win in the first round. I expected that to go like at least 2-3 rounds, but I'm glad Rose got her title back. And the main event, oh man, Usman, people need to put some respect on his name. Like, what more did he have to prove? Like, this guy, every time he has a fight, he comes back better, stronger. It's like, yeah, what more can he do? I'm glad he won, and people need to give him the credit he deserves.
facts. Tyrone.
The three fights I made predictions on, Shevchenko, no surprise there. We all know that was going to be an easy one for her. I kind of went against everybody else and picked Wheelie. I lost some money on that one. I'm not too familiar with the two. I kind of just basically just made the prediction based on who was the champion. So, I picked the wrong one there. And of course, Usman, I predicted a stoppage, and that's exactly what happened. Sometimes when two fighters fight, a lot of times they make adjustments in the rematch, and I just had a feeling from watching the first fight. I don't think this guy had a chance to beat Usman anyway, whether it was the distance or by stoppage or submission. Because Usman is basically outside of John Jones, is like the best fighter in the world, honestly. So, let's give him his credit. He's the man right now in the welterweight division, and he has more room to get better. I don't know how much better he could get, but Usman is the man right now. So everybody needs to really put some respect on him, as my brother said, because that boy's the real deal.
100% facts. Put some respect on it. He ain't gonna say no more. So moving forward, I know y'all was talking about, you mentioned John Jones Town, and speaking of John Jones, recently on Twitter, him and Francis Ngannou been going back and forth with little Twitter beefs and saying different things like that. Like John said, motivate me more, Francis, and Francis like, I shouldn't have to motivate you. If I need to motivate you, you already lost. I already know my motivation. And then John Jones talking about, you got to pray to knock me out, because if it's that, I'm gonna break you. And then Ngannou saying like, yo, how you gonna say that? You a decision fighter. Then what I'm saying, how you gonna break me? Your last few fights, you going to decision. So it should be interesting. I know they do have Derek Lewis kind of penciled in because they're using that in negotiations. And also John Jones recently got rid of his manager, Cowie, the first round before, I forgot the name, sorry, but y'all can look it up. He got rid of them. No beef. They just wanted to make some changes, and he's looking for somebody else. And people thinking about it might be Ali Abziz, who was Khabib's manager and a lot of fighters in UFC's manager. And he's like, I like Jones. I don't know if it's gonna be him, but people were speculating, and he did help, like GSP get the fight for like $15 million to fight whoever he fought. I think maybe even fighting Michael Bisping when he came back. So who knows? I do think that fight is the biggest fight. That fight will do big numbers, and I do think that fight is something that the UFC is really trying to get a hold of. Maybe John Jones needs to take the advice of Ali and say, look, man, I'm just going to go speak to Dana one-on-one, forget this Twitter joint. I understand where John Jones is coming from, but I had this conversation with another friend of mine where it's like, you look at Conor, Yeah, Conor has Island behind him, but Conor doesn't have the resume as John Jones. John Jones, since 23 years old, has been defending a title for his wins. It's not to say that, and that's like 10 years. The man was fighting for 10 years and was winning and keeping the title for 10 years. You get what I'm saying? So it's not like Conor, who got the belt, never defended, who got some L's on his roster for some good fighters, but John Jones beat the who's who in the division. Is the reason why John Jones is considered a GOAT. And for them, for all you guys, like, oh, he did stuff outside the octagon. So did Conor. Conor threw a freaking dolly through a van. Conor snuffed the old man in a bar. Conor slapped a guy's phone out of his hand. Conor allegedly sexually assaulted somebody. It's like all these different things. Not trying to bash the man, but I hate when people try to like make excuses for certain things. And I feel that John Jones is a name. John Jones is a person who could bring butts in the seat. You call him the GOAT. You know what I mean? Why can't the man get at least $20 million on some pay-per-view buys to fight Francis Ngannou, one of the biggest fights of UFC history? A big test for him, also a big risk for him. So who knows? You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, hopefully that fight can get made between him and Francis. And I do see some good stuff from the training for them, so it looks good. But I just want to ask you guys a question. I wanted to kind of wrap this up with Diego Sanchez. Like Menelik knows, so I'm gonna have Menelik go last. Because I'm just gonna give my quick piece and I'm gonna let Hollis and Tyrone go. So Diego Sanchez is one of the guys who helped pioneer the sport for UFC. He was in the first Ultimate Fighter, great fighter. Never really got a championship, but have fought championship fights. Always brings it. But recently, he's always been kind of a weird, kind of eccentric, kind of quirky person. But recently, he has this weird trainer. I don't want to say the guy's name, plus I don't really know it. But this trainer has been doing some weird stuff with him. And my biggest thing is about trainers. So Tyrone, I know you're a boxing guy. It's just about guys. So you can use that as an example. This trainer, I feel, is taking advantage of Diego. Diego has some stuff. He was going through some stuff personally. And this guy doing weird training, like training them in the octagon with a knife as if he's going to stab them to make them like awareness training. And now, because of the way that guy was acting and being pretty much selfish and putting everything around him, he got Diego essentially released from the UFC. And a lot of people say it's really sad to see that this guy's taking advantage of him. Stephen Barner's working around with them too, and I feel like there's something going on. So if you guys are familiar, I just want to ask you guys' opinion, or even if you're not familiar with that particular case, just the idea of like trainers or people who come in the lives of these professional fighters when they're down and when they're out and take advantage. I just want to get you guys' opinion. And so we can go.
I just feel like certain people just be with these people just to get money from them or like the fame or the attention or whatever the case may be. And like Diego's like you said, Michael's a pioneer person. He's been around the UFC for a very long time. And it's like, I just feel like people just use them until they can't no more. I guess he might have been using it for money. Maybe he might see like Diego's money might be going low, and then he probably like, all right, you know what? He eventually might get rid of me. So he probably like, all right, let me do something so he could get him so they could be both in the same situation. But the whole training with the knife thing, that's like insane. Like, what the hell are you trying to do? You trying to kill a man, or like? I gotta look into it more because this is a
I might. Everybody here, I might reference that video with the training.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, it doesn't get flagged. It's not a UFC content thing, so I might reference it and put it in this video for looking into that. But go ahead, Hollis, in my back. Go ahead.
Sorry, no worries. It's just weird, like you doing that to train the man. Like it's just a weird thing. I'll let y'all, go into details more about it because I gotta look into it. And like you said, when you send the video, I'll check it out.
Yeah, man. Like I think Tyrone's having some technical difficulties, so Malik, you can go ahead.
All right, yeah. So just a little more like you were saying. So yeah, Diego started with the Ultimate Fighter, been a legend. He got inducted into UFC Hall of Fame 2019. He had some good fights with like, BJ Penn, Jake Ellenberger, a bunch of other things, couple fight of the night bonuses, stuff like that. He's been with the company for a long time. Used to have a pretty good relationship with Dana. So I know in like around 2019, he was going through a lot. He had got divorced and, he used to be with, Jackson Wink MMA, which is like, a legendary training group. They John Jones came out of there. Donald Cerrone used to be there. BJ Penn, like they had a bunch of guys in there. But so around that time, when he got divorced and was going through a lot of stuff, he was in a really bad place. And then that's when this guy came around into his life. And, I do feel like he did take advantage. He was in a place where, you know, he was in a bad place. This guy came along, you know, and I think the guy was saying, you know, I'm like his life coach, I'm his trainer, his nutritionist, I'm this, I'm that. So he really kind of stepped in and filled that void when Diego was down there and really had nobody else, right? And I do feel like he is using that to try to elevate himself. And you know, yeah, I mean, I've seen videos like you said, the one video of him running around the octagon with a knife with everybody around there. Then I think I remember one time I was watching Joe Rogan and he was watching something and he had like a heavy bag and he was just like doing these kind of moves around it, and Joe Rogan was talking like laughing about it. I know one time too he got confronted by somebody was like, yo, what credentials you have to coach somebody in MMA and this, that, and third. And he was just like, you have to have credentials, this, that, and the third. And you see it in Diego's performances. Like, he hasn't seemed as good. I mean, it could be time. You know, he has been through a lot and been fighting for a long time and, you know, for all the time. But he hasn't looked as good since that guy. And you know, but yeah, once that guy came in, he fired all the Jackson Wink people. And he just been, he was, like you said, he was already an eccentric dude, but it seems like it's taken another step, and then this guy is trying to like elevate himself, and ultimately it led to him now getting released by the UFC. Because as you mentioned, there's a video where, you know, they went and they were talking about, I think, pre-fight.
Yeah, it was like the fighter interviews, like, you know, before, like the fighters, they coming in, they do like the little interview before the fight and give like their, you know, their takes. And then he was just doing all the talking, just like talking over Diego, and this like really getting Angela Hill and all of them was in there and getting on them. His name is Joshua
Fabian.
Yeah, Fabio, whatever his name is. Well, go ahead, Malik. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's like, yeah. So yeah, and then they was, you know, talking crazy, and he was kind of making it about him. He was trying to say it's not about me, it's about Diego, but a lot of it was him talking about the fact that people are criticizing him, and then that in turn leads to it's being disrespectful to Diego. Once again,
yeah,
you know, maybe in his head he really thinks he's trying to help Diego. It just doesn't come across that way. It has a lot of shades of kind of that typical kind of cult guru type of personality and situation going on. So I hope, you know, that Diego could get right and, you know, get himself out from under this guy or something, or at least not having everything be on this guy. He has, I think, too much control on what's going on. It hasn't seemed like it's been working out for Diego. I know Bisbing and some other people was talking about that too. And
yeah,
you know, then the other thing was, you know, that same video when they were recording it, they said they weren't going to release it. Then they released that. And I think it was another thing where he released a call about his medical records, because the UFC said they released him more so because it was some discrepancy with the way that same guy was reporting his medical records, or like something maybe even mental health related. So it is a lot with this situation. So I just hope Diego comes out on the good side of it.
Yeah, I was just about to say that because I just see something else that was showing him getting his hands wrapped, and like they came in there and it was like, yo, we just need to talk to you, Diego and this trainer, and they got him out of there, and they had the camera sitting down getting like recorded, so they kind of already was doing. And honestly speaking, to your point, Malik, and I know I said a lot already earlier, it's just that it's sad to see, because I hate when people try to take advantage of people, you know what I mean, especially good people. Like, I don't know Diego personally. I do know he was like a, you know, a Christian. Like Malik said, he went through a divorce, you know, not really getting to see his kids, going through a lot of different things. He is an eccentric, kind of crazy-ish, not crazy, but eccentric, kind of wild guy. And, you know, it could be some CTE stuff. It could be some mental things going on. And this guy is just taking advantage of him and lying to Diego and telling him that I care about you. It really is trying to use Diego as a catapult to promote himself into being like a trainer for other fighters. Because even that video that leaked would show him with the knife. It was another fighter that happened to go there. He was just playing around, making jokes in the video, and, you know, revealed it like, yo, this guy's crazy, and had these guys doing these weird training and trying to tell people like, yo, this is like, you know, body awareness training. And it's so sad that this guy is taking advantage of Diego and talking about have your back and all this other stuff like that. And then you got Stephen Bonner, who used to be a UFC fighter as well, and now he's in that thing too. And they all, and I hate to say it, and look, y'all do what you gotta do, but they was doing some like heavy drugs and different things like that, and doing these kind of like trances and almost like Malik said, cultish. And it's just sad to see like these guys were once like held in high regards in the MMA community, and now not Diego, not to say they're laughing stock, but it's just sad that everybody see the writing on the wall except for Diego. And I hope that he does get help, and hope he figure this out before it's too late. And if this guy is really trying to do something malicious, I do hope he pays for what he's done. So with that being said, shout out to Diego Sanchez, praying for you, bro, and I hope that things work out for you. And no, I know you're going through a lot, and it's very tough. Sometimes we all get stressed out, and it's hard to find ways to cope. But gotta stay faithful, believe in God, trust Him, and all will be good. So moving forward to the basketball now. This younger generation's GOAT, LeBron James. Like, no disrespect to LeBron, I like LeBron, but he had recently came out and said something about being fully recovered is nearly impossible, and painting this narrative like, like it's just like, yo, I'm doing the craziest thing playing hurt, and like I'm like, yo, everybody's playing hurt. KD came off from a catastrophic injury and is playing. You know what I'm saying? Like, and other guys have been hurt and played. So I didn't really feel the interview, so I don't want to say something just to say it, but seeing the reactions from other people, it just goes to show you, like we said this before when we had our talk with IJTProductions, when in regards to LeBron fans and how delusional they are, is like it's always some excuse or something else to try to elevate his play. The man is a great basketball player, right? He's arguably one of the best players right now currently. Just live off that. Like, we don't need no extra narrative to try to elevate yourself. And by the more you keep doing this, I think it takes away from your legacy. So I just want to get you guys' opinion. We can go Hollis and Malik and Tyron, since we lost Tyron in the last one.
All right, so LeBron saying, what he said about he'll never be fully recovered again. Like, I don't know if this man forgets he's a human being. Like, nobody's ever going to feel like how they were when they was like 18, 19 or younger. Your body breaks down, and your joints and your muscles, everything breaks down eventually. Father Time is undefeated. Nobody's going to ever be full strength for their whole life. But I think LeBron is trying to use this to take away. I guess he's trying to use this like, all right, the Lakers lost, X amount of games. So I think he's trying to use that to take away the fact that they're not that strong like how people really see they are. And he could also be using this too as an excuse for when the playoffs start. There's like 9 games left in the season. He could be using this for an excuse like, all right, I'm not 100%. Okay, LeBron, everybody gets injured. You're not the only person. Like Michael said, KD came over a catastrophic injury, Klay Thompson. All those other people were hurt from injuries. You got to bounce back. You do what you can while you can. But he's trying to use this as an excuse because he might not even get to the conference finals like how you think, or let alone the NBA finals. But if he was to happen to get there, he's still going to get beaten by Brooklyn in 4 anyway. So, but LeBron, you could keep using, whatever excuses you have. And LeBron fans, let's see what y'all going to say now about this.
Yeah, so like I was speaking to, I definitely think it is some level of him putting something out there where, it could be used as an excuse on some level where it's like, all right, I'm not 100% or I never been 100% since then or this, that, and the third. I mean, I do feel too, maybe there's an element of, he really starting to feel his age a little bit, maybe through the process of like trying to get back or having this injury. He felt like, yo, this was a lot harder trying to come back from this. And he realizing Father Time is undefeated a little bit because he kind of escaped a lot of it, especially compared to a lot of other people. Like, no knock to him because he spent all that money on his body and taking care of himself doing this and that. But, he has, for the most part, avoided a lot of real serious injuries throughout his career, which has allowed him to do as much as he's done. Once again, he still got to go out there. He still got to put in work. So I'm not trying to take away and say it's just that, but that definitely has had an impact. And I think he probably looking at it or feeling a little more mortal and realizing, his years might be kind of numbered. So I feel like it could be a combination. One, where he like, all right, yo, I'm gonna get ahead of this. I'm gonna direct that narrative. Like we said, he loves to do that kind of stuff. And then 2, he really could have felt like it was a little harder to come back from this than he's used to having to deal with. So I think it could be, a combination of those 2 things.
All right. Without knowing everything he said, but from what you guys have been saying about him saying that he's not 100%, which I totally agree with. He's not 100%. And the only reason why he's not 100% is because he's an older player. He's been in the league almost, let's say, about 18 years. So, he's older. His body's not going to be able to recover as quickly as it used to be. So I understand him saying that he's never going to be 100% again. So I get all of that. My thing is, when it comes out of his mouth, at times, a lot of people are going to look at it like, oh, here he go. He wants to be dramatic. And like Michael says, make this narrative about him and try to elevate his legacy by saying, okay, I'm not 100%. And then he may win another championship. And people will be like, see, he won another championship, and he wasn't 100% and this, that, and the third. I'm not going to go that route because I didn't see the whole thing. So I understand what he's saying. He's just coming back off of a high ankle sprain, which he missed about 6 weeks. So and we've all had numerous ankle sprains. We know how that thing is and how tough it is to come back from that. So I'm going to give him a little sympathy with saying the 100% thing, because we know that his ankle's not 100%. And you know how we all had ankle sprains and a couple of weeks later we feel good. And then one day we do something, we just tweak it just a little, and then it hurts again for another 2-3 weeks. So I'm not going to kill him for that. But at the same time, he will do things like this and say things like this. And it's like, okay, we get it. You're a great player. You don't have to keep stacking a whole bunch of stuff on you and saying this, that, and the third. A lot of times it usually comes after losses also. They just lost that game to Sacramento yesterday by a basket. But then if he wins, like a couple of years ago, he won a game in Phoenix and he was talking about he's like fine wine and everything. So sometimes it depends on when he says the things that I have an issue with. Like if he would have said this after a win, I would get it. But don't say it after a loss. Say it. He could have even said it. He could have even said it during the injury. Don't wait till you lose a game and say it. And then if you're going a 4 or 5 game winning streak, you're going to talk about you're in the best shape of your life. Because I've heard this. Like, I monitor this guy since he's been in the league. I've seen him do it. He's the same guy that when the Warriors knocked him out, he put on a wrist pad talking about his wrist was broken. Mind you, he was dunking the ball everywhere. So as soon as they lost that game to the Warriors, he's wearing a wristband, like one of those wrist, I can't remember what they called it, but he had one of those on talking about he think he broke his wrist or he sprained it or something like that. So when it comes to him, it just depends. With him, what gets me is when he says it. I honestly believe him when he says what he says about the 900 and 100% and this and the third. But a lot of times it's when it comes, like you bring it up after a loss. And then when you're winning, you're talking about, it's a totally different, thing. But yeah, he's been in the league a long time. He has a lot of wear and tear on his body from playing so long and a lot of minutes and a lot of postseason minutes and everything. So I get it. But like you guys were saying, there's other players that are in the league. They're not 100% also. So it's not just you. Okay, I get it. You played a long time. You haven't played the most years in the NBA in history. So it's not like you're number one in minutes played ever and this, that, and the third. I get it, though. Long time in the league. But sometimes my issue with him is just basically when he says it. And it's usually after losses.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree. Like we all said, we all acknowledge that LeBron is a great player. We do know that Father Time is undefeated. We're up there in age. You know what I'm saying? Like a couple of us are older than LeBron. A couple of y'all are the same age as LeBron and not younger. We all understand that. My issue, like what Tyron said, is like the narrative. Like you get a loss, you say it. A lot of teams are hurt. A lot of teams are battered. A lot of teams are not playing well. A lot of players are hurt. A lot of players are battered. A lot of players, who are young are hurt, and etc. So my thing is like to make this narrative just to kind of get ahead of it. Just don't come off like a sore loser. You know what I'm saying? Be like that guy, like Kobe and them that makes excuses. Kobe Bryant tore his Achilles and made free throws just in case he could have came back in the game to play. You get what I'm saying? Like Michael Jordan played hurt. Scottie Pippen played hurt. I know LeBron has played hurt. So to me, to say that, and like Tyron said, like you was doing like windmill dunks with that same left hand you said was broken. So my thing is like, don't make excuses. All right, you lose. You lose. You lose. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to stick with. Either you're gonna be the man and take everything all the way through, or you're gonna be like, nah, you know what I'm saying? Like this hurt and my feet was tickling me,
And
so I didn't get to play well.
not to
Go ahead.
not to cut you off, but like I want to say, because I don't want people to think that I'm being a hater. My issue is not him saying what he says; it's when he says it. You know, I just want to reiterate that because it usually happens after losses. It doesn't come up when he wins. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying he's lying or anything like that. That's all. I just wanted to put that out there
Yeah.
again.
100%. Like what Tyrone said, we're not saying that the man is a liar. We're not saying that nobody's hurt. Like I just said, all players have been playing hurt. When you play basketball long enough, you're gonna get hurt. You know what I'm saying? Even if you don't get like a contact injury, just the wear and tear of jumping, cutting, running, all that stuff's gonna put bruises on your body. That's why some of these guys or talk about rest and everything like that. But they all say that they got the great technology, they take care of their body, they do this, that, the other. So for me, my thing is that, like Tyrone said, is when you say it, you know what I'm saying, and how you say it. And I feel that a lot of times when that stuff happens, it gets to be a point. But it is what it is with that. But just real quick, cause I know you kind of getting pressed for time, so I was gonna just touch base on it. Like right now, man, I know we talk about MVP and everybody talking about who's gonna be the MVP, and you can't be an MVP because of this and that. I'm looking at it right now, man, and I gotta agree with Charles Barkley when you really look at it, man. Like Chris Paul should be MVP, man. The Phoenix Suns are top of the NBA, and every team Chris Paul has won on, he made them better and made them playoff teams. So I'd say we got to tip our hat to that, man. What do you guys think? And who's your MVP?
Before we go to Chris Paul, you got to tip your hat to Monty Williams. I honestly think he should be the top candidate for Coach of the Year. And the whole Chris Paul thing, every team he goes to, yes, they improve drastically a lot. But when he comes to the playoffs, where it matters the most, that's when he's like, he cracks under pressure. But my MVP right now is between either Joker or Embiid. Those who I think could be the leading candidates for MVP.
Yeah, so similar to what Hollister was saying, what Jokic has been doing, especially after Jamal Murray got hurt, he's really been carrying the team and showing, what he's made of. I would have probably still gave Embiid a slight edge if he didn't miss some time. Granted, I don't think he missed a lot, and I think he right up there. Like I wouldn't be like, yo, y'all chose, Embiid over Joker or Joker over Embiid. And outside of that, Chris Paul is up there. I think he's a step down. Same thing with Giannis. Like Giannis, I don't think he should be the MVP, but he's in that conversation. He's up there. And the other person I'm gonna throw my honorable mention, like he not gonna get it because they, whatever. But Steph, man, like if he wasn't hurt for some of that time, and if he get them into the playoffs, and I just like Steph, but I gotta throw him as an honorable mention. But I think those are the top guys. Joker, Embiid, Giannis, Chris Paul. I'll throw Luka in that mix too. And then no disrespect to Dame. I love Dame. That's my guy. He's like in that next tier. And I just had to get that honorable mention to Steph because what he's done this season, like but yeah.
The MVP race has been up and down. This is probably one of the most unpredictable MVP races in a while. Because early in the season, you had your favorites. You had the Durants, the Embiids, LeBron. It's just a lot of Donovan Mitchell, Luka Doncic was basically the favorite to win it. Harden came along when he went when Durant and them was out. Giannis is still on that on that list and everything. So early in the season, you couldn't really get a feel for who should win it. People had their guys every 2-3 weeks. It was changing. But now, the way Joker is playing without Jamal Murray, he's got to be the favorite right now. They're the 4th seed in the West. He's playing without his star point guard. And that's a big loss, I'm not a big Chris Paul fan, but he did bring Phoenix from the lottery to number one in the West. And I do want to put a little, I'm not a Chris Paul fan, but I know it's going to sound like I'm hating, but this Phoenix number one seed is a little slightly tainted a little bit because Donovan Mitchell hasn't been playing for Utah. And Utah was smoking everybody until he got hurt. And they did just beat the Donovan Mitchell-less Utah Jazz last night. So I want to see how they would look against Utah when Donovan Mitchell comes back. Harden basically was going to run away with it if he didn't get hurt, in my opinion, because the way he was going, them numbers he was putting up without Kyrie and KD was crazy. And right now, if I had to pick somebody, I'll pick Joker because he's doing it without Jamal Murray. And he was doing it even before that. But then he tore his ACL, and he still has the Nuggets afloat, red hot right now. And they lost Will Barton also. So, I think it's Joker's to lose and Paul second.
Okay, that's all a fair assessments from all you guys. I mean, like you guys said, I was looking for Embiid to get it. I thought it was a good thing. Giannis, he's doing this thing, but it gets to the point when, and I kind of understand that that's the reason why Michael Jordan didn't get as many MVPs he should have had, was because like you got, and I mean it's not fair, but it's like you got to look at different credentials. Like Michael Jordan was the man, and I get it, and like Giannis is playing really well, but the reason why I said the Chris Paul thing is because I feel that most valuable player is a little bit more than just a stat sometimes. And the fact that Chris Paul, like I'm not a huge Chris Paul fan either, but the fact that Chris Paul took this team, yes, they played well in the bubble, so I don't feel it's not like they were projected to be this good. But to come on that team and change that culture and get these guys to play at this high level, you got to give a shout out to the coach too. So I'm not taking nothing away from them. They got stars like Devin Booker and stuff like that too. But the way they've been playing, and the fact that they were like not even in the playoffs, they were like in the playing game to be the best team in NBA right now. You got to give that man some credit. And that's the reason why I say that, because he is like the true definition of a point guard. Like he took his floor generalship and made these guys play at a high level and got them to be successful. And that's the reason why I said he should be considered. Now, Joker, he's a big man. He's been putting in work, like you said, Tyrone, in Denver and keeping him afloat. And I think it's going to be his to lose. Honestly, I think that's what everybody's kind of leaning towards. But I really do think it should be a lot closer between him and Chris Paul, because when you really think about it, when Chris Paul went to OKC was in the playoffs and a decent seed, you know what I mean, playing well and almost beat the Lakers and stuff like that, whoever they played. It's like those are the guys that you have to give him credit. Like wherever he went, he made that team substantially better, and that's why I say he should be considered. But it's getting kind of late, so not late in time, but late for our schedule. But I don't want to touch base on anything else, any new topic. But I do want to thank you guys again for watching, listening to the podcast. Shout out to IJTProductions again for having that collab and posting it. I'm gonna try to put the link of that video in this video's description so y'all can take a look at that video. They also have other topics there, like an open podcast. They talk about many different things: relationship, religion, sports, you name it, they talk about it. I know we're sports talk with the fans, so we kind of keeping it light with sports, but we might try to dabble in some other stuff eventually down the line. But really do appreciate you guys. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. It really does help. We did got a new subscriber recently, and we're trying to build this brand and build the channel, build the content. If you like what we're talking about, drop us a like, leave a comment, let us know what you want us to talk about next time. Enjoy the rest of your evening, enjoy the rest of your day, your weekend. God bless you all. Take care.